Welcome, everyone. Thanks for dropping by. A warm welcome to anyone who's new. This channel is dedicated to the teachings of Bruno Groening, a very fascinating being. One of the things Bruno Groening said was, human beings need to be connected to God. God wanted no more. This is the true divine teaching. While Bruno Groening spoke on many topics, he also urged people, in essence, not to believe anything he said, but to find out for themselves. He said, don't be gullible. Convince yourself of the truth. What on earth can that mean? Well, he also said, if you observe your body, the truth will reveal itself inside of you. So my understanding of what he meant is, don't take something based on belief. Verify it in your own direct experience. How to do this? Well, he taught a very simple practice of taking in divine energy, in essence of experiencing communion, union, connection with God. And now this is my view then, and then in essence being taught by God, coming to directly know the truth for yourself. So you don't have to follow a teaching, a preacher, a church, a book. So in essence, that each one of us can have a direct connection to God and know from a very deep place inside ourselves. So that's my understanding of what he meant by this. And again, I'll read a quote of his. Humans need to be connected to God. God wanted no more. This is the true divine teaching. So let's do that now. Let's align ourselves. Let's get connected, enjoined, come into a state of communion with the divine, and let the divine teach us. How to do this? Well, he taught a very simple method. Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor. Hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back in a relaxed, upright position. If possible, not leaning against your chair. And now close your eyes. Take a few breaths and come into the present moment. And then really separate yourself from all burdens, all worries. Mentally putting them behind you. And now open yourself to receive divine energy. Open yourself to come into a state of alignment or communion with the divine, with life itself, and ask to receive. And observe your body, having the intention to be in communion with the divine, to receive divine healing energy. Once again, observing your body. having the intention to be aligned with God. That's interesting. Bruno spoke of a divine signal, a divine transmission. So what if the divine is always transmitting, emanating, sending a current, a frequency, an energy? And then this practice is nothing more than receiving that. Said another way, nothing more than aligning ourselves with God, with Source, with love, with life itself. I'm sorting through old comments on this channel that I haven't gotten a chance to reply to, and someone recently wrote, or not recently, but I recently found it, that when they did this practice, they entered the time just kind of vanished. And different people have different experiences when doing this. I often feel a deep state of peace. I just taught someone a couple days ago this practice, and for the first time, and they said they felt like their body just disappeared. And so it's really cool to read about, like, oh, in eternity, there is no time. There's all sorts of spiritual ideas about time. But it's another thing to then experience something like that directly for yourself. So much more powerful. I asked my friend, what do you make of that? Her body, feeling like her body disappeared. She didn't quite have words for it, but what she said in essence was that, that this idea that the body was in a constant state of flux, that the body isn't as solid as we think it is. Wow. Well, again, it's one thing to read that. I've talked about that in some videos, but it's another thing to experience that, to have a direct knowing of that. So that, part of what we're on here is the quest for the truth, right? And what if we've been taught wrongly about how to undertake or undergo that quest? There's this idea of like, well, you study it and you read about the truth. Okay, that's maybe one way. But what if truth is really like a frequency or a vibration or the supreme reality? And instead of reading about it or thinking about it, we come into communion with it. Maybe as a metaphor, maybe like, let's say you wanted to understand the warmth of fire. Certainly, you could read about it, or you could draw close to the fire and take in its warmth, take in that nourishment, and let the fire actually impact you and change you, and to have a direct felt, not so much felt in the sense of emotion, but a direct experience of that warmth. And again, be changed by it, be touched by it. But this goes deeper than just enjoying the warmth of fire or enjoying the presence of God. Bruno Groening put forth the proposition that all of our problems can be healed by God, that God was the supreme physician for all of human beings. So not only is it about having a nice experience, but about tapping into the true medicine for all our problems. If you ask someone, what is the truth? Someone who has a spiritual or religious orientation, they're going to tell you a lot of words. And what if the truth is actually beyond words? Many saints and sages throughout the ages have said this. And I don't know that Bruno Groening ever said it quite like that, but what he did say, which I started this talk with, this meditation with, man or humans need to be connected to God. God wanted no more. This is the true divine teaching. That kind of turns that idea 180 degrees. That the true divine teaching isn't words, but it's actually connection. And Bruno used this interesting German word, Verbindung, connection, communion, enjoined, linked. I think of it like this: hands, two hands that are linked so closely together, it's hard to tell which one is which. He also said to be connected to God, to be Verbindung, connected, joined, linked. That is everything. It's written that Christ spoke about building a foundation that can withstand the storm, that the floodwaters rose up, but was able to withstand. Now, many people will tell you that what that is a certain belief or doctrine. It's like it's a set of ideas. They may be right. It's not for me to say that they're wrong, but I do feel to propose an alternative. That foundation is being connected to God and trusting in God. To be connected to the great reality, the spirit of the universe, our maker. To be in communion with that which made us and to trust in that. Going back to this analogy of God as fire and drawing close to God, to drink in the warmth, to be warmed up. So to drink in the warmth of fire, you don't have to know a thing. You don't have to have a single idea. You just have to draw close to it. And so that's my understanding of what Bruno taught, is to know God. You don't have to really know any information. You just have to draw close to God. taking in a divine energy and being filled with that. Maybe that's the most direct way to know God, is to be filled with the energy of God, the presence of God. Maybe different ways to say it, or maybe just how Bruno said, to be conjoined, linked. If you feel guided to study something, if you feel guided to attend a particular, I'm not trying to tell anyone not to do that, but I am presenting an alternative. Part of why this is on my mind is I posted a question online, and the question was how. One moment, I'm going to find it. I wrote, I really want to have a relationship with God, higher power, but I cannot believe in any dogma or doctrine. How can I cultivate a relationship with God without any beliefs? And I was really disappointed by the answers I got. Many people believed, and some people overtly said this, oh, it's not possible. You have to believe da-da-da-da-da, or you have to read da-da-da-da-da, or let me just take a look at a couple of the responses. One person wrote, if you're afraid of taking stuff on faith, you're not going to get very far. One person said, religion is all about dogma and doctrine. Your intuition is correct. That is not the way to God. There is a map that leads directly to God. And that map is, and then it gave me a particular religion. It's like, go read this book. Here's one response I like. God is an inner experience that no one can have for another, just as no one can experience the life of another. Learn to practice meditation. You already have a belief. If you believe there is a God, but you can only know belief from within, which is faith. That's my favorite answer. And this person said, experience divine presence since childhood before religion. I like, that's my favorite response so far. So, I'm going to read it again, what this person wrote. God is an inner experience that no one can have for another, just as no one can experience the life of another. And then this person concludes, you can only know beyond belief from within, which is faith. So if I want to have a relationship with a person, I don't sit around and think about them or read about them. I certainly might reflect on my relationship, right? But let's say I meet someone named James and become friends with James. And then to deepen that friendship, I'm not going to go read James's Facebook postings, though that might give me a little insight. I'm certainly not going to just think about James said this, da da da. Well, that might help a little bit if that's like my direct experience, but the way to really cultivate a relationship with James would be to hang out, to talk and to listen, to draw closer. So I'd like to thank everyone who dropped by. I'm using a different computer, and it seems that comments, for whatever reason, on this computer, I didn't do that on purpose. It just happens to be this is the computer that was available. My apologies for that. I'm very delighted. We had 6 people on together all at once. I wish I could hear your comments, but another time. So I'm going to close how I started. Bruno Groening said, to be Verbindung, again, connected, joined, in communion with God. That is everything. And Bruno also said, humans need to be Verbindung, connected, joined with God. God wanted no more. This is the true divine teaching. So there's many, many different traditions that talk about using words to go beyond the words, that the words are just a pointer. And I believe that's what, or to come up with our own words based on our own experience, come up with our own understanding. And ultimately, I believe that's, Bruno Groening said to follow God. Didn't say to follow some guy on YouTube, follow a book, follow Bruno Groening in the sense of like, oh, well, Bruno said this, so it must be true. Bruno didn't want that from people at all, and yet, of course, I've done it. We all do it. It's hard not to. But I think everything that Bruno Groening did was him trying to help us have our own direct connection and direct relationship with God. And to ask for his help with that. But ultimately getting to the place where we don't need the help of Bruno Groening. And he said as much. He said, I want the friends to be able to get to the point where they can stand on their own 2 feet and take in the divine energy without my help. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. It's a very special gathering for me. It's a topic that's very dear to my heart. And if you'd like to, come back to this video in a minute or two and you'll be able to post comments below. And but I invite people to really just sit with this experience. After a community hour that Bruno led, he told people to just sit in silence. He said to listen deeply inside yourself. And then when you felt the time was right, to stand up and stay in silence. So even if it's just for a few minutes, I invite people to listen deeply inside themselves. If Bruno Groening asked us not to believe what he said, but to find out for ourselves, how much more so is that true for me or for the rest of us? You can listen deeply inside yourself, please, and listen to God. And I hope these words point and move people in that direction. Take care. Much love.